Hi, in this video we're going to have a look at this guy, which in spite of its relatively simple appearance, this thing is relatively insidious. I'm just going to give you a quick hint here and roll over with the mouse. You can see the outlines. Yeah, it's kind of a spider web to get this evenly smoothed out, to get even rounding, and to get all the little divots and things in the right position. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Make up a new document here to start with. And what I'm going to do is there are two pieces that I'm going to want to reference for this one. One is going to be this piece, just this simple one, and the other one is this piece. Well, if it'll drop into the scene. There it is. Okay, just came in transparent, or came in not showing. So we're going to reference this piece that's visible right now for this little divot that goes around the outer edge so we can get the right height and depth for it, so we can make those all agree. And then we'll reference this piece so we know how big a space to put in for the little bumps. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this one and I'm just going to drag it down 3.2 millimeters so it's lying underneath the ground plane, and that will have something to lay on top of. And this one I'll leave here because we'll need it right there for any slicing that we're going to do. Alright, so now I'm going to go to a new mesh layer, and we're going to start here with our simple cube, and I've actually got kind of a rough version of the dimensions typed in here, so 16 millimeters, 3.2, and 8 millimeters on the X, Y, and Z respectively. So I'll go ahead and drop that in. And this is going to leave us with actually adjustments on both ends to make. And I'll start here on the right side. And with the low end of this one, it actually drops down to only half the height of a wall here, or of a single piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that one here to start. Let me turn my symmetry off right now. And I'm going to move it down 1.6 millimeters, so it will fall right in the middle. Okay, and this one is the height of 2, so this one I'll move up 3.2 millimeters, and then we'll have our proper angle all set up and ready to go. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in this this slice here. Now I could have done this before with a loop slice, but since I've already made that loop slice, I'm just going to use Shift C, which is the regular slice tool. I'm just going to draw that right across through this bottom edge there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the bottom poly, select up there. I'm going to bevel, and then I'm going to click. And now I could just bevel this in, but you see as I bevel it in, oops, wrong one. So I bevel this in, it's also pulling up the bottom side, which could be problematic. I guess we can give it a try this way. This isn't how I did it. I've done it before, but actually if it lets me get in far enough to get to that edge, we're okay. We just don't want to go past there. Now I can just shift in the down arrow, and I can get that to where I'm only selecting the bottom piece. And I'm going to convert that selection to vertices. Go to my vertex tool, set position. We want that 0 on the Y, and click OK, and that's going to bring it back down to where it belongs. Alright, so now we need to get the hole going down the middle of this first of all. So let's go ahead here in the top view. Since we haven't done any edge sharpening or anything yet, so we can just take this and pull this in to where you get to the right position. And that's looking just about right, just about perfect. And now I'm going to do the same thing here with the top. So again, bevel, and just pull it on in. Now you may end up with a slight discrepancy, which we are here, in size, and you can see that it's getting too short before it gets to the length. So that's all right. I'm just going to get it into the ballpark, so something like that. And then I'm going to select the bottom piece here, and we'll go ahead and run our bridge tool so that it cuts out the hole. And now what I'm going to do, let's turn on our Z symmetry, so that's the symmetry left to right here. I'm going to turn on my action center to element, and I'm going to set my axis to auto, and I'm going to turn on the scale tool. I'm just going to select this bottom edge because the bottom edge looked to be a little bit better aligned to me, and we'll slap that one down to flat, and then we'll select this end polygon here. Again with the scale tool, this bottom edge, flatten out that one. And this isn't a bad idea if ever you have two pieces that there's some bit of eyeballing that's that you're using your alignment just that way, because this will make sure that your alignment is essentially perfect. All right, so there we have that, and now we're actually done with those other two pieces. So I'm going to get them out of our viewport here, and we're ready to start piecing this together. Okay, so we notice obviously when we hit the tab key, we're nowhere near the right shape yet, but that's okay because we're going to add in some more geometry before we sharpen anything up here. Actually, I take that back. The exception here is we're going to sharpen these corners first. And what I'm going to do with these is, since I have created the bevel inward, I did that because I have a ring that will go around here. I'm going to go ahead and use the edge extrude tool, and that will give me edges on either side of those to buffer my my edge sharpness, but it will also allow me to keep them from rounding. If I use edge bevel, it's going to pull in on this existing edge a little bit, and that's going to be problematic, to say the least, because it's going to create rounding where we're trying to sharpen. So if I use edge extrude, though, you can see that it's just pulling out these edges that are just right lying along there, and that's looking pretty good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my tool, and you can see that those edges are actually sharpened now. Now I'm going to refrain from doing loop slices around all of these yet, because I've got a bunch of geometry that needs to be added in first, and I'm going to do that before I go ahead and sharpen anything else. But I want to leave these in here to start, just so that I have those taken care of, and I'll be able to use those as a part of my geometry instead of having to build them around the other stuff that I'm going to add. So in the middle here, we have 3 full slats, 4 full gaps, and then also a half of a slat on either end, so distance-wise. So we're covering the distance of 8 subdivisions. Now we could just do loop slice here and run the loop slice at 7 and cut it, uniform. But this is going to leave us with a problem, and that's that we have an overlap here and overlap there. We're going to have to do a lot of weird sliding in order to get this right. So easier way to do this actually is to, let's undo that. I'm going to set my loops up to 15. So it's going to create double edges for each one. And then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to skip that first edge, and then I'm going to get, I'm going to get this edge, and then I'm going to skip every other edge. And we'll just move our way down there and make sure that's right. Looks like I missed one somewhere. Space, 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 space. Looks like I may have added an extra loop in there. Let's go back here and back up and see. Got this set to 15, which will give us 16 subdivisions. That should be right. I want to go to here. Skip to that one. Oh, yeah, sorry. I just can't count, that's all. Yeah, because that will make sense. So let's loop and delete that. So now we have the half a slat and the half a slat, and then we have slat, and then we have space, slat, space, slat, space, slat, space. So that's then where our geometry will line up inside of here. Okay, now we could just create some slices along here, bridge them, and call it a deal, but that's actually not going to work for us in this case for 2 reasons. One, we have this little lip that goes up from the middle section and then is flush along these inner walls, and then we also have the slats themselves taper down and in, so they kind of cut in stair step, zigzag wise. So what I'm going to do here, first thing, is I'm going to run a loop slice. Let's pull this down to 1 and run that through there. That will give me something to work with here. So let's select that whole loop, bevel, and there's no exact dimension on this, it's just kind of a lip, so I'm just going to be relatively subtle with it. I'm going to go 200 something like that ought to work. Now I'm going to go to my edges, and let's scale in this edge. Set your action center to selection. Oops, there we go. And I'm going to set my turn off my symmetry, and so let's pull this in this way and in this way. And we're nearly 2-to-1, so we should be almost a 2-to-1 ratio on the amount of scaling. So I scaled in 7% on the X. It should be about 14% on the Y. So I'm going to put that value in first here and then go and check. Let's look at that in the ortho. That's actually kind of hard to tell because of the tilt on it. But I think that's looking about right. So we should be good there. Okay, and now what we need is we have to have a loop that runs in down through here, kind of diagonally, that will give us our inner or our bottom piece to bevel together. Unfortunately, we can't just run a loop slice here, because if we run a loop slice, it's going to taper itself. It's going to try and balance between the shorter bottom end and the taller top end. So what we have to do here, let's undo that, is we're going to run another. So let's select that whole loop, and then we're going to run another just straight slice here, and I'm just going to run it just kind of arbitrarily right down the axis here, and then I'm going to turn my fall off to a linear, get my move tool. Let's reverse that because I want it to go back along the distance here, and then I'm just going to pull this up to where it meets. And there's no exact measurement on this, but what I can do here is I can turn on this background image here because I don't want this one to overlap. So I'm going to aim for relatively even here to start. My action center back to automatic. Oops, reverse that again. So I want that to be relatively even spacing up and down. Now I'll drop my fall off, go back to my move tool. I'll just pull this up so we have a little bit of clearance there, and that ought to work nicely. Okay, so I'm going to start here by dealing with the middle sections because they're easier to do than what's at the end pieces. So we have half a slot here and then a space. So I know I'm going to go from here over to here. So I'll go ahead and bridge that. And then we're going to go from here over to here, bridge again. We're going to go from here over to here, bridge again. And again, we're just going to leave the rest of that here for right now. Okay. Yeah, so that'll work here to start. One thing that we might want to do is there is a bit of a is this front part here. I'm not going to actually do it, but I'll just pull it down to demonstrate. This front part here dips down, but there is a bit of a flat end. So I think what we'll do is I'll run the loop slice now. That will make it easier to align. Let's run a loop slice, set that to free. And I don't want it to be right down the middle. I want to pull it back a ways. Let's go for 70% looks about right. Okay, so now what we need is we need to be able to pull this down. But if I just grab this geometry right here and I pull this down, it's going to cause some definite weirdness. You can see this is now going to be like dipping up and down the whole way down. And actually, if you look really closely at the plastic, there is a little bit of distortion that happens where this tapers. But the other thing that you notice is that there is a loop that runs a little inner ridge down here. So we're going to take advantage of that, and we'll let our side effect of our subdivision surfaces actually will take up that small detail that's in there. So I'm going to run loop slice to in symmetry, and I'm actually going to take it almost all the way out. Not quite. I'll leave it at 1% instead of going to the 0.5, and then I'll have something that I can move down here. So let's go ahead and do that. And actually, sorry, take it back. Let's build these end caps here because we want these all to move down evenly. And then we want to flatten these pieces out too. So we'll do that all here in just a second. So let's go ahead and build this end piece here first. So what I need to do is I need to include these little beveled edges here, or extruded, pardon me, edges. So I'm just going to go in here and select all these polys. Yeah, that'll work. And then I'm going to cut those out. Oops, not copy. Cut. So let's cut those out. And now we have to bridge all of this together. So what I'll do is I'm going to select everything, so select the whole loop, then I'm going to deselect this whole end piece here. Now we could come out further, we could just come out and deselect these, but then we're going to have to align this edge with the edge through there, and it gets to be a little bit more troublesome. So I'm just gonna do this the simpler way. So let's go ahead and run bridge again on that, and that will work. Now what we do is we'll run a loop slice. Set this back to free and 1. I'm gonna run a loop slice here at that height. So that was beveled up, so I'm not gonna have an exact measurement, but it won't matter because I'm going to bridge across this, and actually this edge here will disappear. So it really won't matter as long as we're pretty close. And oops, actually, I've actually bridged together the wrong part. Knew something looked wrong about that. So it's like this entire loop. Wow. And I need to deselect these corner sections. Same thing will apply here, but we need to bridge across it to create the slat, so it's okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of those from our selection. Now we can run the bridge. Okay, and now we have this piece here, and you remember these down here have this loop slice running through them, so we'll have this same loop slice running through this one. And right now it's not connected anywhere around this loop, this direction. So if we run loop slice here, oops, set it to 2 and symmetry. Just gonna bring it down. I'm actually gonna use that 1% that I had before. It's okay, it can just bridge across that gap and that'll be fine. So let's select the entire loop now, deselect the end edges, and then bridge. And you can see it's just gonna bridge itself a little bit diagonally across that, and that'll come across perfectly. Let's go to the underside, and we'll actually have the same thing down here. So drop our tool, select the entire loop, deselect the edges. Oops, don't go out too far. And then bridge, and we're set there. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing on the bottom part here, and we'll be done with our creating the slats here. So select everything on this side and on this side. Cut it. Select the entire loop, deselect the corners and the ends here, and then we'll run bridge. Loop slice this section. You can use the same settings we did before. And let's select this edge, deselect the corners, or the end caps, I guess. Bridge that. Let's run to the underside here. Select this, deselect the ends, and bridge. Okay, now we have all of our geometry set. Now we're going to take just a second here to align these edges so that it will be flush in between the other two. So what we're looking for here is a vertical straight up and down. And so what we'll do here is we don't want to move this top edge because that will cause distortion along this. But moving this edge, or these faces rather here, isn't going to do anything at all. So I'm going to go ahead and select those faces, run the scale tool. Again, we'll go with element and auto axis. We'll just click on this top edge. We'll just flatten it down to that. And let's do that again here. Scale, select that top edge. I'm just going to do this all the way up and down here. Scale, select the top edge, flatten. So this is an important thing to look at when you need to flatten out edges on a complex shape. It's good to see which edges have some flexibility, or which polys, I guess, have some flexibility, and which ones don't. Which ones will more vitally alter the form of the mesh. And in this case, you know, these lower ones aren't going to do hardly anything to the form, but this top one, if we move that, other than sliding it, it's really going to cause us some problems. So this makes the prime candidate for the one to scale to, as opposed to the one to scale, oops. Scale tool again. And, oops. Make sure you drop your tool there before before going on. That. And we're just about home free. I think we got one more left up here. Yep. Oops, wow. Make sure you get that edge selected and don't click off the handles or else you'll be in trouble. All right, so there we go. We got that getting close here. Cool. So now all we're looking for is to get the angle on these. So I'm going to grab these middle sections, and since we've added in that loop slice, we should be in real good shape here. Let's go ahead and grab all those. This bottom one doesn't taper down at all because it's already at that edge. So just grab all these, turn on our move tool, and generally what we're looking for is kind of flattening out. So we kind of want the top of the edge we're moving to be level with the front of the edge that is ahead of it, if that makes any sense at all. And the way to check that is to, let's see, oops, let's change my action center back to auto. I have to locate it in your 3D view here, or sorry, in your side view. Actually, it's relatively subtle, so, but they do have a definite downhill slant to them. So I'm actually going to over-exaggerate it just a little bit and pull them down just a little lower. Okay. All right, so now we are ready to start doing the mass of loop slicing that will solidify this thing. And these loop slices, remember, these aren't going to add a lot of geometry because we're going to render with adaptive subdivision at the end, and really it's not going to make much of a difference on any shots that are up close because it's going to need the same amount of geometry anyway. I've done some tests, and usually you get almost identical numbers. When you pull the camera out a little farther, it will be a little bit more, but that's okay because everything else is going to be less, and it all balances out in the long run. So I'm going to go ahead and add loop slices here, 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 here. Good. And now we need a second round of loop slices through these pieces, including this one. Good. Need them, let's see here, we need them along the tops of these that will be the slanted edge. Good. And we need them along the backs of these that are the little kind of solidified flat piece at the back. That back one won't need it. This one probably will though. That. And actually we'll probably want to run one down the middle of here. So what I'm going to do on each of these is I'm going to select this middle edge here. I'm going to get rid of this and replace the whole thing with a double loop slice. It will give us more definition on our geometry. So let's delete those. And then I'm going to grab this, wow, this, 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 and this. I'll run our loop slice through there. And let's see here. Like I said, we do get a little bit of a lip and a little bit of rounding through there, so that's going to work out nicely. Oops, we also need to run loop slices through here. And we may have moved down a little bit too far on these, but what we can do is just select the bottom 3 here on each of these. And let's see, I don't even think we need to get that extra edge there. And I take it back. Yeah, we do. Grab those, these, and we'll just pull those up a little bit. And we can get that past that overlap, and then we can see we've got that little lip there that's now it's nice and flat. And let's see, I think that is all we need along there. Let me turn my subdivision level up by 1 here just so we can get a little bit better view of this. Or 2. It's looking relatively close. We may need a single loop slice along one of these. Actually, no, I think that's good. Well, we do need a couple loop slices that we haven't added yet are down here and around here on those, and then one around, or one set around here too. And I should be running these a little bit looser. Let's back up here on these sections since we have kind of a uniform scale that we've been keeping to these, keeping them at 2%. Just keeps them a little bit rounded. And the only thing that's bugging me is this section right here, which I think I added in a single loop slice on each of these. And let's check our unshaded or our unwireframe view. Yeah, actually, I think those overdo it. Yeah, like I said, there is some little bits of rounding that happen here on the machine parts, so leaving these is going to be just right. I think what I might do here, just to add a little bit of extra kind of rigidity to these edges, is just run one more set of loop slices through here. And we can keep those a little on the loose side because it's relatively narrow spacing. There we go. Now we got that little bit of a lip still. We got this pretty solidified. Perfect. All right, so there's that one. I'll go ahead and apply my material. Oops. And base gray will work. Let's hop over and have a peek at it. And it looks like it's not getting the material. So if you ever get that, I just want to make sure that you grab your base material out of one of the items if you pulled in default items here, and then just delete what's left. All right, that's looking good. I'll pull this into our sampled scene and render out a still for it for the icon, but I think we're pretty much ready. So I'll go ahead here and grab that mesh item and save out the item preset. So well, that's the first of the more complex ones. If you're following the videos in order, obviously you can jump around. There's no particular order until we start putting them together. But yep, there are a few more. That's that one was actually mildly insidious, fiendishly intricate. No, what's that? Fiendishly, devilishly something in its intricacies. I can't remember. Sorry, bad Homer Simpson thought. So let's put this as gosh, what do you want to call this? Grill slant. Yeah, that'll do. Actually, let's do 2-1 grill slant. So I know the size of it too. We'll do that. Check over in our layout as always, just to make sure it's showing up. There it is. All right. So thanks. See you in the next video.